519 interconnection requests hit ERCOT in 2 years, and this week, that pile finally ran into the question of who pays for it. This is the Data Center Daily. Today, the Texas queue number, a FERC chair telling everyone to buckle up, and a signed Meta solar deal where dirt is actually moving.
We've got 519 applicants, and one real build-out to set against them. We're going to stack those two numbers and see what falls out.
Let's start with the queue, because for once it's a head count, not a vibe. 519 requests in ERCOT's records as of May. Not explosive growth, not a megawatt guess, a documented count from the operator itself.
And Abbott's letter told ERCOT to keep residential bills protected. So which of those 519 actually had that protection written into their interconnection agreement? Because a request isn't a signature.
Right. A request gets you a slot in line, not an energized substation. The useful split is how many of the 519 have executed agreements and how many are just placeholders.
And the ones filed 2 years ago? Some got temporary service. When that sunsets, somebody eats the stranded transmission, and it's usually not the hyperscaler.
That tees up FERC. Chair Sweat shared a stage with lawmakers at POLITICO's Energy Summit, openly talking cost allocation. Her word was buckle up.
Buckle up for who, though? If ratepayers are buckling up, that's a confession. If it's the industry bracing for new cost rules, that's the enforcement signal I'll take.
Either way, the cost shift fight stopped being theoretical this week. Now it's got a queue count and a federal microphone attached.
Brattle handed the states a framework. Now, I want to know whether FERC turns that grappling into an actual rate-making rule, or leaves it at buckle up while the bills go out.
Now, supply side. RWE's Rabbit's Foot Solar, 298 megawatts AC, Northeast Texas, construction underway, Meta as the named off-taker.
See? That one's real. Signed PPA, named counterparty, dirt already moving. That's what the clean energy claim is supposed to look like.
One 298 megawatt supply answer against 519 load requests. The arithmetic isn't subtle.
So, my question for the other 518, where's your rabbit's foot? One signed offtake doesn't paper over a queue this size.
And quietly, Meta's Jamnagar deal showed up in a second source. Reliance confirmed the partnership at the same 168 megawatts. Not new, just corroborated. Last one, and it's a rare hardware bright spot. Nvidia's first co-packaged optics switch landed at Lambda, 3 kilowatts saved per rack.
3 kilowatts. What's that buy you?
3,137 extra GPUs on the same power budget. Lambda framed the savings as compute, not as a sustainability slide, which is the honest way to do it.
And every one of those 3,137 GPUs still has to draw from a grid with 519 hands already in the queue. Efficiency's nice, doesn't unbook the load.
Here's James Nanzo at the cooldown.
According to the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT records as of May, the grid operator received 519 requests over the past 2 years from large power users seeking to connect, up from 24 in the prior year, the Tribune revealed.
Update on the ERCOT load story. The queue now shows 519 large user interconnection requests in 2 years. As of May, per ERCOT's own records via the Texas Tribune. And the year before that window? 24. So yeah, more than 20-fold.
519 requests. That's the tab Abbott told ERCOT not to hand to residential ratepayers, and now we've got a headcount on it. So which of those 519 actually have the protection written into their interconnection agreement?
Right, and that's the split I'd press. 519 requests is not 519 signed deals. The 438,595 megawatts attached to them dwarfs the entire grid as it stands today. Nobody thinks all of that gets built.
90% of it wants to be online by 2030. That's 4 years to find that power, that water, that transmission, and ERCOT's own CEO calls it unprecedented. Treat that like a warning.
From Politico.
Republicans and federal regulators, in lockstep with the White House on artificial intelligence, agreed Wednesday that either Congress or the states should shield utility ratepayers and communities from the rising costs of the AI boom. Members of Congress and the nation's top electricity regulator spoke about the need to control costs at Politico's Energy Summit on Wednesday.
Right after the 519 request piece we just hit, here's FERC Chair Sweat standing on a stage in Washington saying, "Buckle up." Buckle up for who, exactly? Because if it's ratepayers bracing for impact, that's a confession dressed as a soundbite.
What we actually have on the record is the alignment. Republicans, FERC, the White House, all nodding that Congress or the states need to shield ratepayers. McCormick called the public anxiety totally understandable, which is a long way from a tariff.
Totally understandable, and a queue full of 519 applicants don't pay anyone's bill. I want the rule-making, not the empathy.
Exactly. We got a summit panel. We still don't have a docket. The cost allocation fight has a federal voice now, but Sweat didn't hand down a cost rule. She gave everyone a vibe. Here's Billy Lutt at Solar Power World.
RWE and Meta have arranged a long-term corporate power purchase agreement, PPA, for the electricity generated by the 298 MOWAC Rabbit's Foot solar project in northeast Texas. Rabbit's Foot began construction earlier this year. Once operational, the energy generated at Rabbit's Foot will support Meta's operations and expanding data center energy demands. The solar project is expected to begin commercial operation by the end of 2027.
We just spent a segment on 519 ERCOT queue requests, and here's the rare one that's actually real. RWE Meta, Rabbit's Foot, 298 megawatts AC, construction already started, contract signed. This is what the clean energy claim is supposed to look like.
Commercial operation by the end of 2027, Bowie County, Northeast Texas. And it's not their first dance. RWE and Meta are now at 872 megawatts across 4 projects in about 2 years, up from 574 before this one.
Right, so stack it. One signed 298 megawatt solar offtake against 519 load requests sitting in the queue. That's the math nobody on those panels wants on the screen.
One supply answer breaking ground, 519 demand tickets waiting. The grid's not exactly running even. Here's Kripa B at Telecom Talk.
Reliance Industries Limited, RIL, and Meta Platforms have announced a partnership to develop a large-scale AI-enabled data center in Jamnagar, Gujarat. RIL will provide end-to-end services including design, construction, management of utilities, renewable power, network connectivity, and managed services, RIL said in an exchange filing dated June 10, 2026.
Reliance and Meta, 168 megawatts at Jamnagar. But this is the same figure from the exchange filing we flagged yesterday. What's new today is the Reliance side. End-to-end design, construction, utilities, renewable power, all of it on RIL.
And that's the part I actually like. Reliance is handling the power and the utility management, so the off-taker isn't waving an unsigned PPA around hoping a grid shows up. Meta's first built to suit in India, and the host is the one keeping the lights on.
Which is a tidier answer than the 519 requests we just talked about in Texas. Over there, it's a queue. Here, it's one company saying, we'll build the supply and the load together.
Right. Vertically integrated means somebody can actually point to who eats the utility bill. In Jamnagar, it's Reliance. In ERCOT, it's an open question with 519 applicants attached to it.
WCCF Tech with Hassan Mujtaba.
Nvidia has now started delivering its brand new Quantum X InfiniBand solutions to AI firms such as Lambda AI, which have unboxed and housed the platform within their AI ecosystem. The Quantum X AI networking solution makes full use of silicon photonics co-packaged optics, adding to the AI compute capabilities with 800 gigs capabilities in GB300 NVL72 scale racks.
NVIDIA's first co-packaged optics switch, the Quantum X, just shipped to Lambda. 3 kilowatts saved per rack versus conventional pluggable optics. And here's the part I like. Lambda didn't translate that into a sustainability line. They turned it into compute. 3 kilowatts per rack frees up power for 3,137 more GPUs across the deployment.
Right, because nobody saves power to save power. They save it to cram more silicon under the same breaker. And stack that against the 519 ERCOT requests we just hit. Every watt the switch frees up goes straight back into the GPU count, not back to the grid. Efficiency here doesn't lighten the interconnection ask. It feeds it.
Jevons paradox with a part number. Cut the switch power, reduce failure points, and the operator's takeaway is, great, room for 3,000 more. If the data center daily is your thing, try Anthropic Pentagon Watch. A daily briefing on Anthropic's fight with the DoD over Claude, military AI use, autonomous weapons, and AI procurement blacklisting. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts. You'll find links to every story we covered today in the show notes. So if something sparked a follow-up question, that's the place to dig in a little deeper. That's the Data Center Daily for today. Have a good Friday, and we'll see you next time. This is a Lantern Podcast.